Hey guys, let's talk a little bit about stress. Normally, when we think of stress, we think of the more obvious culprits. There's physical stress, meaning maybe a physical symptom or ailment you have going on. Could be the physical stress of exercising, trying to keep yourself or get yourself in shape, the wear and tear that can cause. It could be an injury, something like that. That's what we mean by physical stress. And of course, we understand emotional stress. Maybe you're burnt out at the job. Maybe you're burnt out from being a husband, from taking care of kids, stress from the family. That's an emotional stress. Something though that I don't think gets talked about a lot is social stress. And that is stress that can be caused from the things that we normally consider leisurely and relaxing, but they can bring a level of stress with them too. Let me give you some examples. If you're typically the friend or the person within your circle that's planning events, get togethers, and usually take that burden on by yourself or with minimal help, that is a form of stress. Even if it's something that you prefer to do. Like you like having parties, you like having get togethers, you like getting together and playing dominoes and all that good stuff. But it can be stressful planning that, organizing it, figuring out what snacks to buy and what venue to have it at, all that stuff. That is a form of stress. So same thing with some of you, which, and I don't condone this, but going out partying, going out to bars, going out to the club constantly, it seems social and relaxing, but that is a form of stress. Especially if you're out drinking, you're stressing your body, trying to filter through all that alcohol. And if you're out there, eating bad food, out there eating, pizza and nachos and drinking beer, that stress on your body to filter that, to digest that, to get you back to a sense of balance, that's actually stressful, but we don't think of it that way. We usually think of doing things like that as a way to unwind, loosen up. And yeah, that is true to an extent, especially if you had a rough day or a rough week at work. You like to do those things. But oftentimes, as people, we take it to excess. And the Bible speaks about, not getting drunk on wine, how that's debauchery. Doesn't say you can't drink. Doesn't say that you can't have a beer or a glass of wine. But if you're out here drinking like a fish and tearing yourself up to the point where you can't remember things the next day and you're all hungover and stuff like that, that's actually causing stress on your body. Doesn't matter if it was on the weekend. Doesn't matter if you don't have to go into work the next day or you called off sick or it's a holiday or whatever like that. It's still stress. And if you don't map it out when you're doing these things, you're going to have a breakdown. Either nervous breakdown, physical breakdown, you're just going to tap out at some point. And I say this message because I want you guys to really be aware that stress isn't something that completely 100% goes away. It's something that has to be balanced. There are going to be seasons in your life where all these three levels of stress I just talked about, the physical, the emotional, and even the social stress, they're all going to be at different percentages in your life. You have to be able to manage them during certain seasons. For example, if you know that you have a tough period of work coming up where you're going to be busy working to the bone, let's say you're an accountant and April tax season is coming up, you're going to have to probably tune up, if not probably, you're definitely going to have to tune up the emotional stress that you get from work, which means that in order to be balanced, you're going to have to tune down something like the social stress. So if you're working hard, grinding, might not be a good time to go out to the club or to go out drinking. In fact, you might turn into a hermit for a little bit just to make sure you focus on your work during this time period. Knowing that at the light at the end of the tunnel, 4 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, whatever it might be, I can kind of go back and things can be more normal and I can turn that social meter back up. But what people do is they don't reflect on the fact that different seasons call for different stress level management. Okay, if you're an athlete and you're training for a specific event and you had 8 solid weeks to train, You probably want to bump down again, going out to parties and going to social life. I'm not saying that you can never do that stuff, but if you're doing it, I don't know, twice every weekend, you might want to pull it back to once a weekend. Or if you're hanging out and you're out all night, you might want to crash and call it a night at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You're going to have to pull from one category in order to have enough capacity to handle stress in other categories. Because again, we're always in some level of stress. We don't realize that the things we do to relax aren't necessarily relaxing if they're taking up mental, emotional, physical bandwidth. I'll tell you another thing. Sometimes you need to shut down your brain and reconfigure all that, do a reset. So you might say, okay, I'm off work or I'm not doing anything busy right now. Then you spend time scrolling on your phone. You're over here doom scrolling, you're on social media, getting all jealous of people, even though you're supposed to be relaxing. That's not relax. That's actually increasing your stress. What might be better is putting the phone away, turning it off, and doing something legitimately de-stressing, like taking a nap, reading a book, I don't know, doing a crossword puzzle or a Sudoku or something like that. You know, these things that we think are supposed to be de-stressing, you know, social media, even watching movies. You know, are you watching a movie that makes you laugh? Or are you watching something that's really intense? You're watching horror movies with blood and guts, and you know, you're watching intense action movies and dramas where you got to sit there and study all the character development. That's not de-stressing. Okay. That's vicariously living through somebody else's stress, even if it is a movie. Okay, I know like Indiana Jones and Spider-Man and stuff like that, you might think I'm being silly about this, but I'm dead serious. When you need to completely de-stress and unplug and reset yourself in those situations, you honestly, for the most part, want to get away from all the electronic devices, stress-causing movies, TV shows, social media feeds. You guys got to learn how to balance stress. This is why some of you go on a vacation or take a couple of days off of work and it feels like it didn't do anything. You come back to work and you still feel exhausted. Why? Because the time you took off, you didn't actually stop working. You just went from your paid work to unpaid work. You took the time off and you stressed yourself into something else, usually socially, that you didn't take any time to truly relax, be by yourself, meditate, take a nap, spend time in prayer with the Lord. You just added more stress to your life. This video really is just so you have a sense of what stress really is and is not in your life. So you can be a better parent, you can be a better father, you can be a better mentor to somebody. Because if you don't find time to truly recharge your batteries, and again, not spending your time doom scrolling, obsessing over social media and watching gory movies, if you don't spend time resetting, eventually you're probably going to blow up like a volcano. Or you're going to say the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, and you're just going to shut down. And I don't want to see that happen to any of you guys. So guys, recognize your stress. Recognize when you need to balance in your life. I hope this creates some awareness to you. God bless you. Peace. Appreciate you.